It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind where time feels slower, and everything in the house seems to hum with stillness. I had just finished folding the laundry when I noticed her sitting at the edge of the couch, unusually still. My stepdaughter Lily was never this silent. At 13, she was usually either humming some song she picked up online or half laughing at a video only she understood. But today there was none of that. Just silence. Her small hands were folded in her lap, and she stared down at them like they held some kind of answer she was afraid to find. I almost walked past her, thinking maybe she was tired or just lost in her own world. But something made me pause. Maybe it was the way her shoulders curled in just slightly, or how her lips were pressed tightly together like she was holding back words. I sat down beside her, careful not to push, and just waited. Sometimes with Lily that's all it took. She didn't like being rushed. She liked to come to things in her own time, and honestly I respected that. After a long stretch of silence she finally spoke, soft, unsure. "Would it be wrong if I missed you?" she asked, barely above a whisper. I turned to her slowly, trying to read her face, but she didn't look at me. Her eyes stayed fixed on her lap. And just like that, my heart cracked a little. You see, I'm not her real dad. I married her mom 2 years ago, after a whirlwind of changes neither of us saw coming. Her father had passed away when she was 9. I never tried to replace him. I knew I couldn't. But I tried to be there. I was there for the school runs, the late-night fever panics, and the awkward birthday parties where she barely spoke to me. I thought I was just the background noise in her world. Someone polite enough to tolerate, maybe someone she could grow used to. But missed? That word carried a weight I wasn't ready for. And yet, the way she asked it, it wasn't light. It wasn't casual. It was filled with hesitation, almost guilt, like caring about me would somehow erase her dad, or betray the memory she kept tucked away. My mind raced. What should I say? What would her mom want me to say? But more importantly, what did she need to hear? Before I could answer, she looked up at me for the first time that day. Her eyes weren't teary, but they held something deeper, fear maybe, or hope, or both. I opened my mouth, unsure of what was going to come out. But then the front door creaked open. Her mom had come back from the store early, and in that split second everything shifted. Lily turned her head away, shrinking back into silence like the moment had never happened. Whatever she was about to say, or whatever she hoped I'd say, vanished with the sound of grocery bags rustling in the hallway. I sat there, stunned, the question still echoing in the air between us. And I knew nothing would be the same after that. Dinner that night felt different. Not in any dramatic way. No one said anything off, and there weren't any strange looks. But there was a silence underneath everything. Something unspoken lingering between Lily and me. Her mom, Rachel, chatted casually about a neighbor's dog getting loose again, and a new recipe she wanted to try next week, completely unaware of the fragile moment that had passed just hours earlier. Lily nodded politely, picked at her food, and kept her eyes on her plate. I kept watching her, wondering if she'd say something again, wondering if I should bring it up. But I didn't. Something told me this wasn't the kind of moment you chased. Later that night, while Rachel was in the shower and the house had settled, I found myself standing at Lily's door. I didn't knock. I just stood there listening. The soft sounds of her music filtered through. She always played the same kind of lo-fi stuff. No lyrics, just calm beats and soft piano. It was her shield. I used to think it was just a vibe thing, but I realized over time that it was how she kept the world out. When I finally walked away, I couldn't shake her voice from earlier. That question, would it be wrong if I missed you? It looped in my head all night. The truth is, when I first met Lily, I wasn't sure how to approach her. She was guarded, smart in a quiet way, and older than her years. Rachel had warned me not to expect too much at first. She's still figuring things out, she'd said. But I knew what that really meant. Her dad had been her whole world. Losing him left a kind of space no one could fill. I wasn't trying to be her dad. but I hoped maybe one day I could be something she didn't hate. I remembered our first real conversation. It was about dinosaurs. Weirdly enough, she had this fascination with them when she was younger, and when I mentioned how I used to love them too, she looked up for the first time in days and asked, "What's your favorite?" From that small question, a tiny thread formed. Not a bond, but something. We built from there. Board games, cooking, quiet car rides, moments, but never anything deep, never emotional, and never anything like what happened today. Now I started wondering what made her ask me that. Had she been holding it in for days? Weeks? Was something changing in her heart, and she didn't know how to say it? Or had something triggered it, something I missed? The next day came like any other, but I couldn't help watching her more closely. How she acted around her mom. The way she moved through the house like nothing had happened. But then I caught her glancing at me when she thought I wasn't looking. Not angry. Not distant. Just unsure. Whatever it was she was holding on to, I knew it wasn't over. And I had a feeling the real story was only just beginning. A few days passed, and Lily didn't bring up what she'd said again. She acted like everything was normal, and I followed her lead, even though it stayed with me. Her words, the look in her eyes, the way she flinched when the moment got too close. But underneath all of that, something had shifted between us. I could feel it in the silence, in the way she lingered a little longer in the kitchen when I was around, or how she didn't pull away when I passed her the remote during our usual Friday movie night. Still, there was this invisible line between us, delicate, unspoken. And the more I tried to understand where we stood, the more I felt like I was walking blindfolded through something too important to mess up. Then came the weekend, and with it, an unexpected twist. Rachel had to leave town for a quick work trip. Just one night, she said, barely enough time to miss her. I offered to hold down the fort, not thinking much of it. But as soon as Rachel left that Saturday morning, I noticed Lily retreat. Not physically, but emotionally. She spent the entire morning in her room, music on, door shut. I tried not to overthink it. Gave her space. But by evening, the house felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. I knocked on her door around 6 gently, thinking of ordering pizza. "You want the usual?" A pause. Then her voice, quiet. "Yeah, sure." We ate in the living room. The TV played in the background, some show we'd half-watched 100 times. But we weren't really watching. She barely touched her food. I tried not to stare, tried not to push. But I could see it. Something was bubbling just under the surface. Halfway through the episode, she suddenly said, "I had a dream about my dad last night." I turned down the volume but didn't speak. Just let her keep going. She didn't look at me. He was standing in the kitchen, right where you are now, making pancakes, like he used to on Saturdays. Her voice cracked just slightly. Only it wasn't really him. It was you. But I still called him Dad. I didn't know what to say. My heart tightened, but I didn't move. I didn't want to break whatever fragile thread was forming between us again. "I woke up crying," she whispered. And I didn't even know why. There it was. The conflict she'd been carrying around, heavy and confusing. Missing someone she'd lost, but maybe starting to care about someone new. And it scared her. She was torn between memory and reality, between guilt and acceptance. Then she finally looked at me, eyes glossy but strong. "Is it wrong if I want to remember him, but also want you to stay?" That question, so full of pain but also honesty, cut straight through me. But before I could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced down and her expression changed. "Mom just texted," she said, standing up quickly. "She's on her way back." And just like that, the moment was gone again. The next few hours were strangely quiet. Lily disappeared into her room, and I didn't follow. I could still feel the weight of what she had said earlier, like it was suspended in the air between us, untouched but undeniable. The words echoed in my mind. Asterisk, is it wrong if I want to remember him but also want you to stay? Asterisk, it was more than just a question. It was a fracture opening up inside her, something she hadn't dared say out loud before. And now that it was out, neither of us knew what to do with it. When Rachel finally got home, Lily came out, smiling like nothing had happened. She hugged her mom tight, told her dinner had been fine, and even offered to help unpack. It was almost too normal. And I knew that was her way of retreating, pulling back into safe, familiar routines so she didn't have to face the mess inside her chest. Rachel didn't notice anything off. She was tired from the road and just happy everything at home was calm. But I could feel the shift. Over the next few days I started catching small things. The way Lily would pause when I walked into a room, like she was waiting for me to say something. Or how she started leaving her bedroom door cracked open at night, when she used to keep it firmly shut. There was no confrontation, no follow-up, just these quiet signals. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to respond, or wait. Then came the storm. A literal one. Wind howling, power flickering, the kind of night that pulls everyone into the same space just to feel less alone. Rachel had a late shift at the clinic, and it was just Lily and me again. The lights went out around 8 p.m., and she came downstairs with a flashlight and her favorite blanket without a word. We sat in the living room together, the storm pounding against the windows. The only light came from a few candles on the table. I handed her some hot chocolate, and for a moment we sat quietly listening to the wind. Then out of nowhere she whispered, "Sometimes I feel like I'm betraying him." I looked at her, but she kept staring at the window like maybe the storm could answer for me. I tried to remember his voice, his smell, how he laughed at his own jokes. But it's starting to fade, and that scares me. And now when I feel safe around you, I feel like I'm letting go of him. Her voice broke near the end, and she wiped her eyes quickly like she didn't want me to see. I wanted to reach out to say something that would help. But before I could, the wind slammed something against the house hard. She jumped, clutching her blanket tighter, her eyes wide. And then in the darkness she turned to me and said, "If something happened to you too, I don't think I could go through it again." The air went still, like even the storm outside was listening. And in that moment everything we hadn't said sat heavy between us, teetering on the edge of something that could either heal or break us both. The room was still wrapped in silence after Lily's words. Her face was turned toward me now, no longer guarded, but vulnerable in a way that knocked the air right out of me. I wanted to say something, anything, to ease that fear in her voice. But before I could, my phone buzzed sharply on the coffee table, its vibration loud in the quiet. I glanced down. It was a message from Rachel. "We need to talk. I'm heading home early. Something important came up." My stomach tightened. Her tone in the message felt off, urgent but not panicked. Still, something about it didn't sit right. I didn't want to alarm Lily, so I locked the screen and slid the phone into my pocket. She was already on edge, and tonight wasn't the time to pile more weight on her. "I'll be right back," I said gently, heading toward the kitchen. As soon as I was out of view, I called Rachel. She picked up on the second ring, her voice low and tense. "I didn't want to text this," she said, "but I just found something I think you should know. It's about Lily." My pulse kicked up. "What is it?" "An envelope," she continued. "In her backpack." I was putting her laundry away, and I thought it was homework at first, but then I saw the handwriting. "It's a letter from her dad." That stopped me cold. "A letter?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. Rachel hesitated. "It's dated months after he passed." "That's not possible." "But it's in his handwriting, and it's addressed to her." I leaned against the counter, heart pounding. "Did you read it?" "Just the first line," she said. It said, "If you're reading this, then I found a way back." I didn't read more. I didn't want to invade her privacy. My mind raced. Lily never mentioned anything like this. And yet, now it made sense. Her dreams, her confusion, the guilt she was carrying like a secret no one else could understand. Had someone given her that letter? Was it real? Or worse, was someone messing with her? I'll talk to her, I said quickly. When the time's right. As I ended the call, I turned and found Lily standing just inside the kitchen, wrapped in her blanket, her face pale. You found it, didn't you? She asked softly. The letter. My throat went dry. Lily, where did it come from? She didn't answer right away. Her hands tightened around the edges of the blanket. Someone left it under my pillow 3 weeks ago, she said. No name.
No explanación.
I thought I was imagining things, but it's his handwriting. I know it is. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Have you told anyone else? She shook her head. I didn't want Mom to think I was making it up or losing it. But it's not just the letter. There have been other things too. I froze. What kind of things? She looked up at me, eyes wide. Things in the house. Voices. Shadows. Stuff that only happens when I'm alone. And in that moment I realized something much deeper was unfolding. Something none of us were prepared for. The storm outside had started to fade, but inside the house, the tension had never been thicker. Lily stood there, her blanket clutched tight, her eyes flicking around the kitchen like the walls themselves might shift. I could tell she was scared, not just of the letter but of everything she'd kept buried. Whatever she'd been experiencing, it wasn't just imagination. She believed it. And now so did I. Show me, I said softly. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. We went upstairs together. Her room was dim, lit only by a small desk lamp. She walked over to her nightstand, opened the drawer and pulled out the envelope. Her hand shook as she passed it to me. It was worn at the edges like she'd opened and closed it too many times. The handwriting on the front was clean and familiar. I had seen photos of her father's letters before. This matched perfectly. I opened it carefully. The letter was short. Just a few lines. Asterisk, if you're reading this, then I found a way back. I'm close. Don't be afraid. Trust what you see. Asterisk, there was no signature. No date. Just those words. I stared at it, trying to make sense of it. Did anything unusual happen the night you found this? She nodded. My light flickered at exactly 2:11 a.m. I remember because I was wide awake. Then I heard footsteps outside my door. I thought it was Mom, but when I opened it, no one was there. Just the letter. Right on my pillow. The air in the room felt heavier somehow. Too still. I thought I was going crazy, she whispered. But things kept happening. A picture frame fell off the shelf by itself. My window opened in the middle of the night. I even heard him call my name once. I knelt in front of her, steadying my voice. Lily, I believe you. And I don't think you're crazy. But I think someone might be trying to confuse you. Or worse, hurt you. Her eyes widened. You think someone faked it? Before I could answer, we both heard it. A soft knock on the bedroom door. Not a creak. Not the wind. 3 slow, clear knocks. I stood up, heart racing. We both turned to look at the door. I reached for the knob and pulled it open fast, but the hallway was empty. No one there. Then from behind us, Lily gasped. I turned and saw her pointing at her desk. A second letter had appeared, sitting right on top of her notebook. I hadn't looked away for more than 5 seconds. I walked over and picked it up, barely breathing. This time the handwriting was different. Sharper. More rushed. Asterisk, she knows too much. Keep her quiet, or she'll lose both of you. Asterisk, I looked at Lily and she looked at me, both of us frozen. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a ghost from the past. Someone real was watching us, manipulating everything. And now they weren't just haunting Lily's memories. They were inside our home. I kept hold of that second letter, the sharp handwriting digging into my thoughts like a thorn. Lily stood behind me, silent, her breathing fast. I knew we couldn't stay in the room any longer. Something, or someone, was playing a game we didn't understand. I turned to her, gently took her hand, and we left her room without a word. Downstairs, the storm had finally stopped, But the house still felt wrong. Rachel wasn't due home for another hour, but I didn't want to wait. I needed help. Real help. I called the police first, not with any claims about ghosts or strange notes, but just enough to get someone to take us seriously. I said there'd been an intruder, possibly watching the house, possibly inside. They took it seriously. Within 15 minutes, 2 officers arrived and checked every inch of the home. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints on the notes.
No explanasten.
Rachel walked in just as they were wrapping up. I pulled her aside and showed her both letters. She went pale. Lily didn't speak, just stayed close, her eyes wide and alert, still holding onto the blanket like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. That night we didn't sleep. All 3 of us stayed in the living room together, lights on, doors locked. The fear didn't come from some ghost in the dark, but from the unknown. The idea that someone had been in our space, watching Lily, planting things to mess with her mind. And for what? That question lingered the longest. The next morning, Rachel called her late husband's sister, Lily's aunt. She'd helped pack up his things after the funeral and knew his handwriting well. We emailed her photos of the letters. Her response came quick. The first letter looked like something he might have written, but the second wasn't even close. Too sharp. Too messy. Too full of anger. That was our turning point. With the police now taking it as a potential harassment case, things slowly began to unravel. A few days later, they found security footage from a neighbor's camera. A man seen walking toward our backyard late one night, hoodie up, face hidden. But when the image was enhanced, Rachel froze. She recognized the jacket. It belonged to her late husband's old friend, someone who had drifted out of their lives after the funeral, quietly and without a word. No one had thought to question it then. Turns out he'd always felt Lily's father deserved more time with his daughter, with life. Grief had twisted him, and he blamed Rachel for moving on. The letters, the noises, the games, his way of keeping Lily tied to the past, making sure she never fully let go. It was deeply wrong but rooted in something human. Grief, misplaced love, and a broken sense of justice. He was arrested, and peace slowly returned. We changed the locks, added cameras, and more importantly, we talked. Lily began therapy. Rachel and I opened more space for her to speak freely, even if it was hard. One evening, weeks later, as the sun dipped low and warm light filled the room, Lily sat beside me again, quiet, calm. Then she said, "I still miss him, but I'm glad you stayed." This time she didn't turn away. And this time I had the right words. "I'm not going anywhere."